We're just going to understand the importance of a human being. We are trying to understand the importance of every single human being. One of the greatest invention, rather I would say the greatest creation of God, is human being. So education is the most important asset that a man can acquire. If you look into the advanced nations, they have always laid emphasis in terms of research and development. Good morning and welcome to the first session for Chapter 5, First PUC Economics on Human Capital Formation. This is a very interesting chapter because it's all about you and me. We're just going to understand the importance of a human being and how it matters in terms of economic development. So the concept of human capital formation is the biggest plus point that you can see in economics. Let's go quickly and try to understand the topics that we are going to cover today. So these are the topics for today. Introduction, importance of education, what is human capital? Definitely a question that needs to be answered. Questions to ponder. We do have some questions. They are technically, intellectually very important in terms of understanding it. And then we have the sources of human capital. So if you see through this entire lesson, we are trying to understand the importance of every single human being who are going to make a difference in terms of the Indian economy. And this chapter is a very important chapter. So I request all of you to pay extra attention towards in terms of understanding the concepts. So let's go further and try to understand the concepts in depth. Moving forward. Introduction to human capital. One of the greatest invention, rather I would say the greatest creation of God, is human being. And definitely every single human being who is born on this earth has got a special set of talent, ability and capability to display himself at the best. So in economics, we always believe that human capital or the human being is the most important asset for any country, for any organization or any continent altogether. So let's try to understand what are the concepts of human resources and human capital formation. We will also try to understand the link between investment in human capital, economic growth and human development. So there are new words, key terms that we are going to understand because these are certain new terminologies which you need to understand in depth how these words will make a difference towards the economy. We are also going to understand the need for the government spending on education and health. Probably these are the two sectors that always need the topmost priority when it comes to any government. So not to forget, in the Indian economy, with the new education policy coming in picture and the healthcare and infrastructure getting a top priority according to our government, definitely we are going to spend some time in understanding the priority in terms of education and healthcare. And we are also going to learn about the state of India's educational attainment. So we are going to see the range at which India started after independence and where we are today in terms of the education world. Saying this, let's move forward and try to understand in depth about the different concepts of the human capital formation. Moving forward, the importance of education. Education is the most important factor that can transform a man. Because knowledge is power. This is what we have been taught and this is what we have grown up with. So education is the most important asset that a man can acquire during his lifetime. Even in economics, we don't look at education just as a matter of degree or just as a matter of letters, but it is looked as a matter that would be definitely making a difference in terms of growth, in terms of development. That's why we say that education is sought not only as the confederation of degree, but it also gives you the factor that you can highly valued benefits. Which means to say that most of the time we just believe that getting a degree, getting a qualification makes us feel that yes, we are qualified for a job, makes us feel that we are better than others. But then, truly speaking, education is not about acquiring degrees, acquiring certificates, or acquiring those fancy titles altogether. It's about a value. Education tells you how to create value and how to use the value for the development of self and nation. So the concept of education needs to be more on the value development, on the value progress, rather than just looking at education by completing through subjects. So education always needs to be given a topmost priority in terms of economic development. The second point, it gives us some better social status and standing, which means you are able to make better choices. Moment you say that you are an educated person, qualified under a particular line, under a particular discipline, automatically the society starts looking at you at a particular angle, at a particular weightage altogether. Now that is the reason why education is able to transform you. Education is able to give you the choice that you can do better than others. So education is definitely the biggest key to success, and you need to understand this, because every time when you spend your time and energy in learning something new, you are definitely adding value to the country. You are becoming a potential asset to the country in terms of development, in terms of learning, and in terms of making the nation a truly better nation altogether. The next thing, it also provides knowledge to understand the changes that are taking place in the society. Now, when you talk about the word called as society, society is a collection of individuals who contribute their intellectual in terms of development. So when you are a part of a society, you need to have some basic knowledge, a basic understanding of what is going around you, why things are happening in a particular manner. Then only you will be able to interact with people, then only you will be able to share knowledge, and you will be able to pass on your ideas to others. So education lays the foundation for that. Through education, you will be able to understand that yes, I need to get qualified under particular terms and conditions, and then I would be able to be a successful contributor to the nation and to the society. So the foundation for any human being is given by education. It is also helpful in stimulating the word called as innovation. Of course, we are going to look in depth about the word called innovation, but definitely yes, education makes you think, which makes you a better person altogether. Now, moving forward. Now, what is human capital? How do you understand the terminology called as human capital? Just as any other capital, whether we talk about land, we talk about building, we talk about financial assets, human capital is the biggest asset that a nation can be proud about. And when it comes to India, we are second to none in this world. The reason is quite simple. You have a population of 138 crores today as on date. Now, 138 crore population, the second largest populated country in the world only after China. We are the most intellectually gifted persons of the world. So our country, India, can be proud about 138 crore intellectuals who are going to transform, who are going to change, and who are going to make this country the best country to live in. So that is why I always say that human capital is the biggest transformation that a nation can be proud about. Now, look into this factor of human capital. Just like any physical asset, when we talk about your financial assets, when we talk about your land, when we talk about the assets that you have earned, when we talk about all the factors that you have earned over a period of time, human capital is also like that. It starts from a very small beginning and keeps on going up to greater levels. It is because of the human capital we are able to see engineers, doctors, lawyers, auditors, and so many other professions. They are all a part of the human capital. They are all the people who constitute the nation from a knowledge base, from the factors that they have been able to bring forward development altogether. The second thing, societies definitely need people like us, who are educated, who can understand the factors of what governs, what are the basic needs of the society. Why? Because they will be able to compete, they will be able to transform, and they have been in a position where they can understand the needs of the society. Now, for example, if you look into the advanced nations, they have always laid emphasis in terms of research and development. The reason is quite simple. The more you involve people in doing research and development, more ideas, more innovation, and a better human capital altogether, which means those countries will have a transformed society, a better society with advanced thinking altogether. So that is why most of the societies in the world will always aspire and admire the fact that we need to have people who are well qualified, well trained, and capable of handling any situations. Moving forward, in other words, we are also going to understand human capital as the need to produce better people. Now, we have always understood the factors of reproduction through biology, which is also a very, very important science. But when we come to economics, the concept of human being is slightly changed. What we want out of a human being is not just the physical need, it's not just the physical human being, but we need the intellectual personality. We are looking for that intellectual thought, ideas, opinions that can transform the society to the next level. So that's why we say that we need the concept of human capital, we need the concept of human being to produce the best kind of people. So they might be a doctor, they might be an engineer, they might be a scientist, or they might be a computer software developer. Whatever is it, they are all people who will be able to transform our society. The second factor is that we need to invest on human capital to produce more of the human formation. Why is that? Today, if you look into the society, we have about millions of people who are trying to learn something, who are trying to develop something, and who are interested in making themselves popular. Which means to say that the concept of human capital is all about investing in the ideas of people, investing in people itself. The ideology of machines, the ideology of technology was invented by the human beings. So it goes back and pays you that again investing on the human being, on his brain, will definitely produce better results to the society rather than just looking into the machines or to the technology factor. So now what is happening in the society is that the larger the population, the skilled level you have in terms of population will definitely enable you to stand out of the crowd and proudly say that your country can become a leader in manufacturing, in services, or probably any sector of the economy. All you need to understand is that having population is not a negative factor. Transforming the population for a meaningful objective, for with better skills, with better technology, and upskilling them to the need of the society will definitely help the nation to become the best nation in the world, to become the #1 in the world. And that's what India is now trying to do. We have millions and millions of people living in this country. Each one of them are technically, socially qualified, and they can produce better results for our country. Now, moving forward, some of the questions that we need to think, that we really need to apply our mind altogether. The first question, what are the sources of human capital? Where is human capital found? Is it something that is readily available in the society? Is it something that you can just find it on the roadside? Is it something that it is already made like a PPT? Is it available in Google? So many questions that start coming in your mind. But what are the real sources of human capital? This question really needs to be thought upon. The second one, is there a relationship between human capital and economic growth? Till now, we have been speaking about those millions of people. But how are those millions of people connected to the economy of our country? Does everybody involved in the planning commission? Does everybody involved in policy making? Does everybody involved in making rules and regulations for the government? So the question of human being getting associated to the economy is still a deeper question to be thought about. The third question, is the formation of human capital linked to the economic or man's overall development, as in what we call it as the Human Development Index or the Human Development altogether? Now, quite a long question, but let me just put it in a very simple manner to you. Is every single part of human capital related directly to the development of personality of a man? So definitely this question needs to be thought about as simple, as clear as far as possible. Why? Because for every single activity that man does is a direct reflection of his personality. So more the human being spend time in terms of reading, in terms of gathering knowledge, there is going to be an overall personality development. So no doubt about it, the formation of human capital is a direct link to the personality of the people. The last question, what role can government play in human capital formation in India? Last but not the least, we always want the government to intervene into the society, into the economy, and be with us in terms of formation of human capital. That is no wrong about it. Why? Because every time we want some governmental support, we want some leader, we want some monitor, we need a backup, we need an agency that can come with us, that can support our objectives and say that yes, what can we do in terms of building up the human capital formation altogether. So these questions we are going to understand, we are going to take its in-depth meaning altogether in the coming slides, and we will see that how these questions actually matter to you in terms of economic development. So moving forward, sources of human capital. Let's first try to understand the first question, sources of human capital. Investment in education is considered to be the main source of human capital. So where is the human capital? Is it in the air? Is it in the Google? Is it somewhere? The answer is that it is in education. That is the reason we say education maketh a man, which means to say knowledge is powerful. So education, investment in education is the biggest potential, is the biggest realization that a country can do. So that is why we always say that when a country proudly says that we are 100% literate, we are 100% educated, that means that they have done the biggest investment of the century, of the era, because they all have highest human capital formation in the world. That is why India is making all efforts in getting its citizen educated at least to the minimum level possible. So investment in education is the biggest human capital innovation investment that you have done ever. The second thing, there are several sources as well. For example, we are going to look into health, we are going to look into infrastructure, we are also going to look into in terms of building up the personal well-being. There are different factors in formation, but then education stands the topmost priority, followed by healthcare, which will definitely help the nation to become the best nation in the world. So definitely we are going to spend time more in terms of understanding the role of education in human capital formation. Now, moving forward, the sources, as we were talking about, like education, healthcare is also considered to be an important factor for the development of nation as much as education is important for an individual. They always say a proverb in English, health is wealth. That's exactly true when it comes to economics, because healthier the nation, the better the contribution for the development. So when you look into countries which really spend the least amount towards doctors and hospital, probably that country is the richest country, because the contribution made by the people is a direct reflection to the GDP. In India, we always believe that health is wealth, and that's one of the top priorities that the Indians have already kept in their mind. So in developing our economy, apart from education, the next important sector, or rather I would say the sunrise, the emerging sector that is always kept in the mind of hundreds and thousands of people is health. Healthcare can never be avoided, can never be taken lightly. It is always a sector that needs to be given top priority, and we need to see that every single citizen in our country is covered under the healthcare so that he can live a well-balanced and healthy life. There should not be an excuse where a person can move away from the healthcare priority. So we always try to see that every single Indian citizen is covered under some or the other scheme so that he is able to take care of the health and his family. So healthcare is also the most important sector in terms of human capital formation. The next thing. Now, when you give out an example here, for example, when I talk about a sick laborer, a person who is not able to be physically well, can he contribute to the nation? The answer is no. He cannot contribute for the development of nation, because health becomes an excuse there. Health becomes a reason by which you are not able to perform. So health should not become a reason for non-performance. Health has to become an agenda for performance. Health has to become an enabler for performance. That is what we mean by giving priority to healthcare. So at any point of time, moment you have people who are not physically well, who are not capable of performing, automatically the output of the country will come down. So this is why we say that priority should be given to healthcare. Investment in healthcare is always an asset altogether. Next, we also see that the word expenditure on healthcare, which is very, very important, is a source of formation of healthcare. So we don't just want to say the word expenditure and leave it. We rather want to convert the word into investment, because every single rupee that is being spent on your healthcare, that is being spent on your well-being, will definitely contribute for the development of nation. So for any nation, we need to understand the better the insurance scheme, the better the healthcare facility, automatically the country will start moving forward. Now, moving on to the next slide. With this, we come to the conclusion for today's session. I hope and believe that this session was interesting, informative, and educative. In the next session, we will try to understand some more factors in terms of human capital formation. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today.